Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm with the Proven Practice team. My area specialty is the Office of the Finance, so that's Cognos Disclosure Management, that's TM1, that's basically Cognos Controller. Anything related to the budgeting, reporting cycle, regulatory filing is my expertise, as well as the risk area as well. I have a background in risk and I support the OpenPages product release as well. So this presentation I'm going to walk you through is the reporting trends. Basically what I try to do every few months is kind of highlight what's going on in the business. So as you're positioning your upsell opportunities, you'll see what's kind of going on in terms of positioning. So my agenda, I'll talk about the accounting standards updates, and I'll talk about some of the reporting trends in business. Now, as an overview, as you're looking at your up cycles in terms of your existing customers as well as your pre-sales opportunities or sales opportunities, you're going to see a bunch of things come into play. And there's significant changes with the revenue for contracts and leases. These are significant structural changes how reporting is going to be done in terms of revenue recognition for contracts. Basically, it's looking at the component size of contracts. So if we're looking forward in terms of pre-built solutions for TM1, this is an area that we likely will probably need to look at a review of this in terms of looking at building a new contract revenue model that feeds into our revenue planning solution. So it's something, the area we need to follow. The other area that's coming into is lease accounting. It's basically now going to be looking at basically the right to use and a debt obligation on that lease. That will be parked on the balance sheet. It's something that you need to bear in mind too as well, that we probably may want to consider that as a pre-built solution as part of looking at TM1 to actually build it into the budgeting solution that will end up being pulled into like the reporting solution for CDM as well. Now, I want to highlight a few things here that are driving right now, and these things came up in the last type of review as well. They're so significant. So as we move forward with kind of the pre-built solutions, you're going to want to look at profitability by customer. It's an area that with the planning analytics solution as well as TM1 that we may be able to push out that pre-built solution, whether it's product or customer, to basically uptick that, because CFOs are really looking back to adjusting their pricing models and that's responding to any sort of cost changes to be able to look at profitability by customer. It's a big growing trend. It was been around for decades, but it's being more and more pushed now in terms of responding to the conditions that are happening in the marketplace. The other area that's come into play too as well as you're looking at TM1 and looking at solutions from the FOPM and PM side is analysis of customer trends, whether that's social analytics, whether that's looking at big data. Customer sales are pretty critical to drive that into some sort of reporting tool. So we're looking at marketing activities, and maybe that's an area that we pull into Cognos Disclosure Management to kind of look at the reporting of that. Or maybe we do more analysis in TM1 or planning analytics as part of looking at the marketing activities and forecasting out and projections. It's an area that's going to be growing. It's an area that's going to keep being in the focus point because revenue is driving business and they want to focus on that area. Sensitivity analysis, we've done a lot of models over the years with this, but this is an area that we probably want to relook at in how we build the solutions out there, because there's a lot of pressure on commodity prices. Most companies rely on raw materials, whether that's oil, nickel, and all that, and we're at a low cycle in the commodity cycle with that. It's an area that's going to impact business on the costing side, or if we're dealing with mining companies or energy companies, they're going to be looking at the price of barrel and the sensitivity of their operations to that. So it's an area that we probably need to be looking at, and there are some pre-built solutions from the industry team that we may want to look at and piggyback and see how we can align with that. So that's another area where we might be able to do some crossover solutions as part of going to market strategy. I've got cyber security. It's more about mitigating. It's looking at opportunities to mitigate potential hackers coming into your zone and how you mitigate those issues. So I brought that into play. Supply chain management, that's all about inventory management from the costing side. We do have pre-built solutions or in play that will probably be looking at that. Now let me talk about IFRS major projects. The only major one that's a big significant is in the insurance area. It's basically they're going to re-look at how they report on that based on the discount rates and the cash flow perspective. It's in the final stages of drafting an IFRS. Even if it does get approved, it's going to be 2 to 3 years out before it's actually going to become official. It's an area that we should be watching as we look at our financial service sector when we're supporting an insurance industry. It's an area that we should be watching as well. The rest of the stuff there you're just seeing in terms of different things that they're looking at in consultation or just the status of it, and I wanted to call that into play. This just gives you a little bit about in terms of the IRS contracts in terms of what they're looking at in terms of disclosure on risk and as again the overall flow of what's happening in the insurance industry. IRS implementation, this is an area now basically what they're going into, what the next projects will in terms of what's going to happen in terms of the implementation stage. And you're seeing basically when you look at that revenue for contracts, you're seeing different things show up there. This is just another area that you need to watch in terms of the alignment. Again, this is a little bit more addition on the information on implementation. It gives you a little bit more areas what they're looking at. Again, a little bit more about the completed IFRS. This is the areas I was talking about, that the revenue for contracts, the financial instrument side, which impacts algorithmics area. We've also got the leases, but you're seeing 2019, but the work starts now on a lot of the accounting systems because they're typically gearing up for 2018 or even into 2017 for the reporting. I brought in FASB because they're supporting the leasing standard. I just wanted to highlight that. It shows you that they're going to support fall closely to what the International Accounting Standard Board standard is for leasing. Now FASB is proposing new way of looking at pensions. Now this really only comes into play on the regulatory side for CDM, and typically with pension reporting you only do it on an annual basis. It's not typically done every quarter because usually that's when you get the actuarial analysis and stuff like that in terms of the pension funds, is once a year. So basically they're looking at a little bit more disclosure around pension plans. Profit shifting, I talked about this before. This is all about tax planning. This is a play into OECD. I talked about one of those solutions that possibly would be out there as a tax planning one. It's an area that you need to watch and be focused on because tax planning is becoming a critical area driving it. It may be where we partner a little bit more with the CA firms when they're professional accounting firms with their partners in terms of the overall automation of the tax planning process, because a lot of tax shifting and management of tax planning is happening. This is where we can probably bring in TM1 as a tool as part of planning and forecasting and pull it into on the regulatory side into CDM. It's an opportunity there where we can look at the overall tax planning. This again talks about the key findings. I showed this in the last type of presentation. This is really where the top areas of concern for management for the Office of the Finance, so that's what it was looking at. And I already kind of talked a bit about this area early on as a setup, the segue into this presentation. This chart I left here still so you can kind of see and try to overlay as we're building out pre-built solutions or as you're positioning your pre-sale or sales discussions with customers, whether that's existing customers and pushing them over the planning analytics or looking at opportunities within the TM1 market space to go beyond Office of the Finance. It kind of gives you an idea of how things are being pulled together, and it's a good area to kind of take a look and step back as we're looking at the pre-built solutions. So I wanted to highlight this area so when you see the priority index, if you say a 6 or 6.5 or higher, you know that's a key area of focus for business. Risk is still there, but what you're seeing happen, as I discussed in previous presentations, you're seeing more of an integrated risk platform process where you're seeing sustainability reporting as well as risk management coming as part of the reporting cycle. It's an area as you discuss with management, you want to look at that in terms of how we build out things within CDM from the sure objects out in terms of the reporting of the narrative components of a report, whether that's a management report or whether it's a regulatory filing, is things that you need to bear in mind. This presentation was just to give you a quick overview of reporting, so as you're targeting your solutions from the blueprint team, your innovation team, as well as looking at your pre-sales and sales opportunities, it's kind of giving you an idea where we target it. So we may end up looking at a couple, you may want to consider looking at multiple angles as we build out the collateral as part of building the solutions out. This presentation was to be brief, just to kind of highlight areas, so as you're discussing things with your prospects or your sales teams, this kind of leads into how we move forward with our solutions. Thank you very much.